Estas son las sesiones 1 y 2 de Inglés Avanzado para Agustín Díaz y Teresa de Calcuta. Soy vuestro profesor, José Antonio. Today we're going to deal with that subject I always wanted to deal with, I always wanted to approach, which is the environment. Even though I just omitted the article here, we should say the environment. Let's get started with this mini glossary. Of course, when we speak about the environment, what we mean is the air, the water and the land on Earth, which can be harmed by man's activities. For example, the effects of acid rain on the environment. Ecology, another big word. Well, of course, it's the scientific study of the way in which the plants, animals and natural features of a place affect and depend on each other. I've taken up a course on ecology. Ecology is then a scientific study, a discipline. The biosphere. The biosphere is the surface and atmosphere of the Earth where animals and plants can live. It's both the place and maybe the set. All the animals, all the living organisms, they themselves are also part of the biosphere. We are causing irreparable damage to the Earth's biosphere. Habitat. I take it most of you are familiar with it. It's the natural home of a plant or animal. The gorilla's natural habitat in Africa. Biodiversity is a big word, very wide concept to define the variety of plants and animals in a place, locally, in a particular place. The biodiversity of the rainforest, for example. Now this takes us to one of the most productive prefixes in this field, which is, of course, bio, which is taken from Greek and means life. Biodegradable, biodiesel, biohazard. So whenever we use the word bio, it doesn't have to be necessarily a positive thing. Biohazard can be a biological agent, an infectious microorganism, or it can also be a condition that constitutes a threat to humans. It can be a threat to all of us, particularly when it comes to the area of research and experimentation. So it's a potential danger anyway. Biosphere is the part of the surface and the atmosphere of the Earth where animals and plants can live. We are causing irreparable damage to the Earth's biosphere. We have another word here where the stem, in this case it's a stem, it's not a prefix, it's a stem, and it stands for life as well. Antibiotic, against life, or as the Americans would say, antibiotic, something that kills life. There's another productive prefix, which is eco, as you've already noticed. Eco-friendly, so in vogue these days, so used and abused these days. An eco-town in England, a new town that is designed in a way that reduces people's impact on the environment to a minimum. Ecotourism. Ecotourism is the business of creating and selling holidays that give people the chance to learn about the natural environment and cause as little damage to the environment as possible. Once again, everything related with eco doesn't have to be positive. We have this new term, this new coined term, eco-terrorism. An eco-terrorist is someone who tries to stop or damage organizations that cause harm to the environment. Global warming is a general increase in the temperature of the world, and it's caused by pollution from cars, from factories, etc. We are already starting to see the effects of global warming. Climate change, nothing to do with a temporary change in the weather, something more serious and unlikely permanent, more permanent. It's apparently here to stay. Okay, climate change can be defined as changes in the weather around the world, which result in much higher or lower temperatures, violent storms, floods, drought. An international conference on climate change. The greenhouse effect, another terrible consequence, is the natural process in which gases build up, create form in the atmosphere, and prevent heat from escaping, causing the earth to get warmer, like in a greenhouse. The heat cannot escape, cannot go away. So pollution from cars, factories, etc. is causing this process to go out of control. There is no doubt that the greenhouse effect is here to stay. It's a little pessimistic view, but okay, the hole in the ozone layer. Holes. Apparently, there are more than one. So, a hole in the ozone layer is a hole in the layer of natural gases that surround the Earth. These gases protect the Earth from the harmful effects of the sun's rays. So the hole or holes are caused by pollution and means that the Earth is losing some of its protection. Effective action needs to be taken on environmental issues such as the hole in the ozone layer. Sometimes when we hear about the hole in the ozone layer, we can also hear not only a hole, but ozone depletion, the deterioration of the ozone layer. Depletion, deterioration, destruction of the ozone layer. Other signs, other consequences that can be seen, unlikely these days, following the damaging of the environment, is the fact that there are several endangered species. Endangered species are those animals or plants that are likely to stop existing completely. For example, because of hunting, because of pollution, humans are damaging their habitat. So, for example, the panda. The panda is classed as an endangered species. Extinction is a situation in which all of a type of animal die and there are no more left. The white rhino is close to extinction. There's a phrasal verb meaning this, some kind of some species becoming extinct, which is die out. Soil erosion. Soil erosion is the process by which soil is gradually destroyed by wind or rain. Use of the land in such a way as to cause excessive soil erosion. That would be an example. Desertification. Desertification, well, it's self-explanatory. It's a process. It's a process in which, particularly when we're talking about farmland, fertile soil, that changes into desert because of climate change or overgrazing, which is something we'll see later on as well. Farming is leading to the desertification of large areas of the planet. This is a curious word that has been around for this word has been around for decades now, several decades, and it's the result of joining two words into one, smoke and fog. So that dirty mix becomes smog. Controversial, also relevant to this is of course the thawing of the polar ice caps. Thawing, to thaw is the verb, to melt down when we're talking about ice. The thawing of the polar ice caps, which of course is very serious. Global warming is leading to the thawing of the polar ice caps. Rainforest destruction, well, it's self-explanatory, I'm afraid, as well. The rainforest destruction is also a controversial issue, a real issue. Now let's go to a new section, which is related to things that harm the environment. Pollution. When we talk about pollution, we refer to the harmful chemicals, gases, or waste materials coming from factories, from cars, that have gone into the air, into the water, into the land. So pollution from cars, pollution levels, pollution, pollute, pollutant, several words related with pollution, air pollution, water pollution. So we don't refer to it as contamination, which is a different concept. There are several concepts related to pollution, such as pollute, the verb itself, to make the air, the water, whatever substance, pure substance, dirty and not suitable for people to use or for living animals, living beings, organisms. Pollute, polluted. Pollutant is something that pollutes, an agent that pollutes. It's a substance that makes air, water, or soil dangerously dirty. Hazardous waste is dangerous waste materials, for example, produced by industries, hospitals. Over 90% of hazardous waste is disposed of by the manufacturers who generate it. Hazardous waste, dangerous, risky waste. Greenhouse gases, we've already visited this one in our previous section. Those are the gases that form a layer around the earth and keep the heat in. These are causing the global warming and the greenhouse effect. Acid rain has also been around for a while now, quite a while now, over half a century I'd say. And it's that kind of rain that contains pollution from factories, power stations, and of course that causes damage to forest. Toxic waste is obviously very dangerous waste materials, for example from the nuclear power stations or chemical factories. There should be some laws governing toxic waste. E-waste, not eco-waste but e-waste, E as in electronic, as in email. So e-waste is waste consisting of all electronic products, devices, such as computers, batteries and mobile phones, which people no longer use, no longer want, and which often contain poisonous substances. E-waste presents difficulties for recycling due to the complexity of each item. Pesticides, also sadly familiar to all of us. These are chemicals used for killing insects and any other animals that attack crops. They can be harmful when they are absorbed into crops or the soil. These days, farmers are being asked to reduce their use of pesticides. Fossil fuels, also very familiar term these days, although they have been around for a long time, obviously. These are fuels such as coal or oil. Deforestation. Deforestation is a situation in which most of the trees in an area are cut down or destroyed, and this results in a great damage to the environment. The lack of trees. Fumes. Fumes are harmful gas or smoke, for example from cars, from factories, and they can damage people's, animals' health. Air pollution from the fumes discharged by factories. Exhaust fumes come from cars. Exhaust fumes can be made cleaner by the installation of catalytic converters. Carbon emissions. Carbon emissions. When we talk about carbon emissions, we mean carbon dioxide gas, which is sent into the air when fossil fuels are burnt. These fossil fuels we refer to at the beginning. Carbon emissions from burning rainforests were said to be the third largest contributor to the greenhouse effect. So it's a serious matter. It's a very serious matter anyway. Carbon footprint. Carbon footprint, a relatively new concept to define the amount of carbon dioxide a person, an organization, or building produces. And it includes time as a factor, and it can be used, well, it is used as a measure of the effect on the environment. Intensive farming. Intensive farming. This kind of farming is a little self-explanatory because we refer to this kind of farming which produces a lot of food from a small area of land by using modern industrial methods, including the use of pesticides, which we have already referred to, and also some growth hormones. Intensive farming is sometimes criticized for damaging the environment and the fact that they are known for treating animals badly. For example, by keeping them in overcrowded conditions. Okay. Another current problem are invasive species. When we refer to invasive species, we mean a group of plants or animals which are introduced by humans to a place where they did not belong to. They did not exist natural before, and which can be damaging for other animals or plants already existing there. So invasive species can have a major impact on Australia's environment, threatening individual species and reducing overall species abundance and diversity. Invasive species can have a major impact on existing flora and fauna. Now, this prefix, which we can find interesting, over of course means to do something that is too much. Too much. Over means too much. To overdo something is to do that too much. To exaggerate. To abuse of something. We have some examples such as overpopulation. Overpopulation is a situation in which too many people live in a particular place. A consequence of the overpopulation has been the high incidence of malnutrition and communicable diseases. Infectious diseases. So overpopulations, obviously we mean to overpopulated areas, crowded areas. Overfishing, also self-explanatory, once we know that over means too much. Overfishing is the process of taking too many fish from the sea or river so that the number of fish becomes too low. Overgrazing is the process of letting animals feed on plants for too long so that land is damaged by soil erosion or desertification. So livestock can cause serious degeneration. Good for the environment. Green. Used to talk about anything that is good for the environment or about ideas and issues relating to protecting the environment. A green source of energy, information about green products. In fact, we'll see that this adjective, when we add the article the, becomes a noun. So we can use a plural form, the Greens, mostly to refer to political parties. Environmentally friendly or eco-friendly. We use this to refer to products or methods that do not cause harm to the environment. A campaign to encourage people to use environmentally friendly forms of transport. Conservation is the protection of natural things such as animals, plants, forests, to prevent them from being spoiled or destroyed, and ultimately to prevent something from disappearing, to being lost, being wasted. For example, our wildlife conservation project. Renewable is also an adjective that has turned into a noun at times. We're going to talk about the renewables. I'm talking about new forms. Renewable sources of energy use fuels that can be replaced naturally, and so they are never completely used up. The change from fossil fuels to renewable sources of energy, such as solar power, for example. So we can talk about the renewables. The new sources can be used as a noun, the renewables. Organic, also much heard about these days. It's a buzzword these days. So organic foods are produced naturally without the use of harmful chemicals. The high cost of organic farming means tight financial pressures on those who practice it. We can every now and then hear about organically grown vegetables. Organic, organically, as an adverb. Sustainable. When we talk about sustainable methods of farming or fishing, that means that they don't use up more than natural resources that can be replaced naturally, and therefore they do not cause any harm to the environment. So we can talk about the sustainable use of rainforest resources. We have also the word sustainability, the ability, the capacity of being sustainable. Biodegradable. Biodegradable materials and products can be broken, can be decomposed, can be broken into small parts and absorbed naturally into the environment. Most plastic products are not biodegradable, which is a pity, of course. More positive terms. Of course, we're all familiar with the word with the verb recycle, and hence recyclable. Something that has the ability of being recycled. So recycle is to use materials that have already been used in order to make new products. New techniques for recycling plastics are being introduced. Recyclable are substances or materials that are recyclable, and for example we can use the adjective recyclable when talking about recyclable bottles. Our recycling point, our recycling center as well, is a place where people can leave bottles, newspapers, old clothes, anything which are taken away from recycling. There are many recycling points across the city where you can take your own newspapers and magazines. Bottle banks are containers in the street where you can put your empty bottles so that the glass can be used again, can be recycled. Normally we go to the bottle bank once a week. Solar power, a sustainable source of energy. We can talk about solar power, wind power, wave power. All these are energy forms from the sun, obviously, the wind, or the movement of the sea, and these are used to make electricity. Solar power is a renewable source. It's a green source of energy, it's renewable. Wind farm is a group of tall structures called wind turbines, which have blades that turn with the wind. They are used to produce electricity. Wind farms produce energy without harmful emissions. These are the new mills, windmills, new mills in today's landscape. Biofuel is a fuel that is made from plants and animals, or from something that they produce, such as cow manure, some kind of compost. So it is a renewable source of energy. These days they are doing a lot of research into methods of converting biofuels into electricity. These words are also interesting and used to refer to good, positive aspects. For example, an unspoiled. Here we have the usual spelling. This is the British spelling, both. I mean, as you already know that spoiled can be regular or irregular. So unspoiled, something natural, something unpolluted, something very clean, something pristine, something natural. Another word we can come across these days is ozone-friendly, obviously. This term has been around for decades now. So ozone-friendly, eco-friendly, ozone-friendly. Greenbelt. Greenbelt is a term to define the area of land around large cities, big cities, where no buildings are allowed in order to protect the countryside. It's known as the green belt, our green belt. Now we have some people that are committed to protecting the environment. Environmentalist, someone who is concerned about protecting the environment. Environmentalists are agreed that more roads encourage more cars. An environmental group is a group of people that tries to protect the environment, especially by influencing the government and large companies. We can also refer to them as our environmental activists. An environmental activist is someone who tries to protect the environment, especially by influencing the government and large companies. The Greens, we have already mentioned before. The Greens are members of the Green Party. It's a political party concerned with protecting the environment. The Greens aim to bring the environmental policies to protect the future of the planet. And something we already heard about an eco-terrorist, and we can also talk about eco-warriors. The eco-warrior is someone who takes direct action to stop companies and governments destroying the environment. Science and the environment. Environmental science. This is a scientific study of the relationship between humans and the environment, the interdisciplinary nature of environmental science. Biotechnology. Biotechnology is the use of living things such as cells, bacteria, etc. to make drugs, to destroy waste matter, etc. There have been important advances in biotechnology. Genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is the science of changing the genetic structure of an animal, plant or human, usually to make them stronger or healthier. Developments in genetic engineering. A breakthrough in genetic engineering. GM. That was around for a while when we're talking about genetically modified. GM stands for genetically modified. When something is genetically modified, this is that they have had their genetic structures changed. Foods or plants can be genetically modified. That means that their genetic structure has been changed so that they are not affected by particular diseases or harmful insects. There have been some trials of GM crops, genetically modified crops in Europe. Many consumers do not want to eat genetically modified food. I'm afraid we would all prefer organic food instead of genetically modified food. Well, that was all. That's it. We're done. Maybe a little intense, a little dense, but here we are. At least we just approached one of the subjects I just wanted to deal with during this advanced course. I'll send you some material, some exercises to practice these terms so that you become more easily familiar with them. So that was all then. So I hope to see you all very soon. I'll send you a new video very soon, hopefully. Bye.